He's hit some balls really far.
Anything on the defensive side?
He's always been a great catch and throw guy. He can really throw, and the pitchers really like throwing to him. He works his butt off. So if he makes a mistake behind home plate, you can live with it because he works so hard and tries so hard. But he's been a definite pleasant surprise this spring.
What do you think of Taylor making #1 on SportsCenter? Did you teach him that?
Taylor's got a flair for the dramatic, so to speak, and it was just a matter of time until he made a play like that. He always tries to make plays like that, but yeah, that was neat to see him. You know, as the whole team, we were in the hotel in Kansas watching it. You saw the number 10 play pop up, and then the number 9 play, and as you're watching the countdown go down, you're thinking, nah, he's not going to make it. Oh, yes, he is. No, he's not going to make it. But as soon as it got to number 1 and they showed Vance pitching, then it was funny. Taylor texted me. He said, "I'm jumping up and down on my bed like a 6-year-old right now," and I think we all are. That's a special treat for a kid. That's something he'll remember the rest of his life, and very deserving. It was an unbelievable play.
Is that thing good? Is that good for the program too? I mean, it's not often college baseball gets #1 on ESPN's top 10. Is that something positive for the program?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, you're talking about people all over the country, from Seattle to Phoenix to Miami, watching Mountaineer baseball. I'm sure a lot of those people that saw that play had no idea that we even had a baseball program, but now they do. So for sure that puts us on the map, and throw those camo jerseys on top of it. You get people talking about the Mountaineers a little bit.
You looked at the rest of the schedule and tried to at all figure out what you guys need to do besides just win as many games as you can for an at-large. Is it too early to do any of that?
Yes, I have looked at the remainder of the schedule. I know exactly who we play, and I know exactly how good they are, the teams we play. We've got Oklahoma coming up and TCU coming up. And if the people of Morgantown want to see the best college baseball in America, you need to come out and see those teams play. Oklahoma's going to throw a guy out there probably throwing 100 miles an hour, and TCU's got a guy that's pretty close to that. So you want to see future big leaguers come through Morgantown, now's the time to come, because they're on our schedule, and this is the best of of college baseball, and now we've got an unbelievable venue for them to watch it in. I'll be honest with you, I'm looking forward to some packed houses once the weather clears and we get those really good teams in here and get a lot of support going. I'm really, really excited about the next month and a half.
Thank you, sir. Randy, when you were designing, how aware of you and how much did you try to make use of things like the wind and also some of the views you put around?
Well, it was kind of interesting because we knew it was windy up there. We knew the prevailing wind was going to kind of blow it out to left a little bit, maybe a crosswind from right to left. But then when they said, well, the stadium's going down over the hill from that urgent care facility, we thought, well, heck, that's a 58-foot bank and a building on top of it. We thought, is it going to block the wind? Is it still going to be windy? We really didn't know. And when we're designing it, we used the old baseballs in college baseball. And now we change baseballs, and the hillside doesn't block the wind. So Munden hit one the other day up there in batting practice, and some of the construction guys had their tape measures on their belt. They measured it at 475 where it landed. So there's going to be days where it plays really small. But Sean Wood went up there the other day, and he's got as much power as anybody on the team. When the wind was blowing in from right, he couldn't get one out. So it's hard to say. But yeah, the wind was always a factor, but we didn't know how it was going to be a factor. And we still don't know. It's going to be a little bit different every day, but there's some days where the pitchers are going to really have to focus on throwing the ball down in the strike zone.
So it could be some Sundays.
I hope for the other team.
Ideally, right, yeah.
We actually have statistically our best guy that pitches on Sundays.
Right. So. There's some uniformity in the measurements and things like that. As you set out left center where you built the table booth, right? I don't know whose idea was that. What does that do to potentially your bounces, maybe knock the balls back in that should go?
Actually, Ray Garini, the guy y'all were just talking to, hit 2 balls in batting practice on Monday night up there that off the bat you knew they were gone, but they hit the part of the wall that is a double wall.
Right.
So had he hit it 10 feet to the left or right, he would have hit a homer. But I think it gives it character, you know, having the high fence in the left field corner that slopes down with the brick wall right there. I think it gives it character. You know, all good fields have character, and not just a cookie cutter type thing. So it'll be interesting. Hopefully, it'll end up being a home field advantage for us.
So your idea was that Simon's idea?
You know, it was always, you know, we had boundaries that we had to live with from day one, and we had to put that ticket booth where we had to put the ticket booth, and we had to put the fence at the dimensions I wanted the fence. It just so happened that they butted up against each other because of the boundaries, but the way it turned out, I think it turned out great. I think it's something that you know, people will talk about.
Did you know that the new baseballs would increase the power as much as it has?
I don't think anybody knew that going into it. It definitely has, for sure. Because we've hit more homers this year so far than we hit all of last year. Power numbers across the country are up 39%. So it's definitely made a difference. And like I said, when we were designing the stadium, you know, who knew? So we've definitely hit some homers this year with the new balls that wouldn't have been homers last year.
The only change in the ball is the seams.
I think that's correct. We did not go with strictly the minor league baseball. We have not done that yet, but that may be coming down the road. You know, the other thing other than the seams is the coefficient, the court.
Yeah.
So we're not there yet, but we're headed that way.
How do you handle your pitchers, putting them in a situation where a good part of the time the wind's going to be blowing out like that? I mean, you obviously emphasize keeping it down, but you also have to emphasize, I guess, that a 4-point earned run average might be the same as a 3-point earned run average was.
Yeah, you know, they got to understand going into it. We don't care if you win the game 2-1 or 10-8. You know, there's going to be some days where a guy hits a fly ball you think's going to get caught, and it just lands on the wrong side of the fence. But we're going to have to change the way we teach and recruit a little bit. We're going to have to teach guys how to sink the ball, and we're going to have to recruit guys that can already sink the ball. You know, Coach K, when he coached Duke basketball, somebody asked him one time, why does Duke shoot free throws so much better than everybody else? And he said, we recruit really good free throw shooters. So if the way to teach a guy to sink the ball is to recruit a guy that can already sink the ball, that'll be a big advantage in our place.
How many of those kind of guys do you have on the staff right now?
Not too many. Vance can really sink it. He's hard to hit fly balls off of. I think at Kansas State the other day he gave up, I don't know, 15 or 16 ground balls. Did you count them? 18 ground ball outs. And actually, when the wind's blowing out and he's throwing his pitches into the wind, it sinks even more when you're pitching into the wind. So the majority of our other guys are fly ball guys. So, you know, from here on out, we're going to have to teach guys how to sink it a little bit, which isn't that difficult to teach them. It's difficult for them to do it sometimes, but it's easy to teach them. You can teach anybody anything. Whether or not they do it's another thing.
Yeah, is it harder with the new ball? I mean, without the seams?
You know, I would have thought so, but along with the new balls flying farther, pitchers' velocities have increased because the seams
I was
aren't.
just thinking that you might not be able to take the break as much.
Yeah, you would think so, but our pitchers seem to feel like the balls are moving more. So I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. It's only been a half a year with the new balls, but time will tell on that.
There's almost a knuckleball effect to that, isn't there? When you reduce the seams and it reduces that rotation.
You would think so. If you revert back to your days of physics, you know, the higher seams put more resistance on the ball. And you would think it would move more, but that might be pitchers just trying to talk themselves into something, which is fine too.
So you didn't have a situation last fall where guys had to either abandon a go-to pitch or change the frequency with which they threw something simply because the ball changed as much? Was there, did you have that period of adjustment?
No, not really, because I don't think anybody really knew until this point that there was going to be such a difference in the ball. So now that we understand that there is a difference, and we're going to have some wind up there, now we're going to have to, I think, focus our efforts on teaching guys how to sink it.
Do you call the game differently from like a pitching standpoint if you're the catcher?
Well, maybe not if you're the catcher, because I call all the pitches.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the guy on the mound, I'm not going to change the way guys pitch in the middle of the season. But, yeah, over the course of time, we're going to have to, I think we're going to have to do things a little bit differently.
Is it nice that cleanup hitters aren't having to bunt like they were having to bunt last year? The game became so
Well, you know,
small.
to be honest with you, like this past fall, we did not practice bunting at all. And because we had such a young pitching staff, I thought, what's the sense of bunting, scoring one run and giving up 2 or 3? You know, that doesn't make any sense. So we actually, in the fall, focused our efforts on getting our swing off, hitting homers and doubles, and trying to cover up a staff that might have a high ERA. Well, then we got into the season, our pitchers were throwing pretty well. But we stayed with the homer and the double philosophy because of the balls, so it's actually worked out pretty well for us. We're way above and beyond where I thought we'd be at this point.
Just because of the conversation we're having about the wind and the dimensions and all that, do you plan on evaluating or setting any type of criteria where you may go back in the offseason and say, you know, we got to move this back 10 feet, we should add something here, or is that, let that play out maybe for a couple of years before you do that?
Well, you know, based on your last question about the boundary and that ticket building, there's no moving it back.
Right.
I mean, you can always make it higher, I guess, but there's no moving it back. I don't know that, I can't sit here right now and say the park is going to play small. It will one day and it won't one day, so over the course of the time, I'm not sure how it's going to play, but I think our recruiting philosophy is, you know, back when they changed the bats 5 or 6 years ago, everybody said, well, you got to adjust to that and start playing small ball and bunting and hitting, running and recruiting those type of guys that can control the bat and run a little bit. And everybody did that. Now they changed the balls. Now the ball's flying a lot farther, but everybody's got these little guys that know how to bunt and run. Fortunately, we didn't do that. We still got some bangers in the lineup, which we're going to continue to do. We're always going to we're going to try and recruit guys that can knock the ball out of the park because you know, the grand slam is my favorite play. The 3-run homer is my second favorite play.
Only when you're at bat.
Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, it changes the game. Look at Ray Garini up at Pitt the other day. He comes up at first and second, and he can bunt guys over to second and third. Don't let him bunt, he hits a 3-run homer. Changes the game. It goes through, is that the first runs of the game? We were up 1-0 at the time or whatever, but 3-run homer's a huge play. So, yeah, we're going to our strength and conditioning guy does an unbelievable job of getting our guys stronger. Ray Garini is so much stronger right now than he was last year. And, you know, when we're in a count where we think we're going to get a fastball, our guys know that our philosophy is to get our swing off and try and score multiple runs on one swing of the bat.
Had the game gotten too low scoring last year? I mean, just watching CWS and no one even threatening to hit one out.
You know, I don't know. I try not to get too caught up in it. I mean, I'd play with a square baseball if they changed the game. I don't really care, but a lot of people thought that it was getting too low scoring. I think there was only 3 homers hit in the College World Series last year, and I remember seeing some balls smoked out there that got caught. And my philosophy is if you get into one, if you're in the middle of the lineup and you're a big guy and you hit one as far as you can, it should be a homer, you know. And it changes the game if it isn't a homer. So, yeah, you know, I guess, you know, fans like offense. They like watching homers. And whatever's exciting for the fans, I think, is. But, you know, on the other hand, Belmont University the other day had 12 homers in one game. So, you know, whether or not it went too far, I've always thought there was going to be a situation where They changed the bats, then they changed the balls. Now it's too much, now they're gonna change the bats again. Now they're gonna change. Nobody's ever gonna be perfectly happy, with it.
As long as you're not having third baseman and pitchers getting killed.
Yeah, for sure. But, yeah, we'll just keep adjusting and keep reacting and do what we gotta do.
No chance you're gonna schedule Belmont now, right?
Schedule the team they play.
Schedule.
The other side, yeah.
Find something that Atlantic Sun pitching.
Freshmen for Florida had 4 last night.
Fan